I thought Jacoby, and we say it all the time that, it's all about competition, every single position. I would say as a coach, and I know the organization feels this way, we're trying to win every game. And at the time, we thought that Jacoby will give us the best opportunity to go out there and win games, protecting the football, really running the offense. With that being said, he was a warrior. As you guys know, he's taken a lot of hits and just kept getting up. And I would also say, for a guy like that to be voted as a captain in this situation and continue to be very supportive of Drake Maye, I tip my hat to Jacoby for having that ego-less mentality. Going forward, I think now, Drake gives us the best chance to win now and going forward. He's been he's been getting better every single week. As I said before, at the end of training camp, he actually was trending, at a very high rate.
Right.
And that has continued through the early part of the season. And so, it's solely my decision to make this choice. I had a conversation one-on-one with Jacoby. I had a conversation with Drake. We're all on board. And I would also say, Jacoby's a warrior, and he took the news very well, like a professional, like you would expect from a guy like that. So,
Jerod, you said Drake is getting better. Now, there are two things. There's physical and there's mental. Can you talk about, if you talk to Drake about his football acumen, has that improved from training camp to the beginning part of the season, which gives you more comfort in putting him in at this particular point in time?
I would say, Drake's a smart guy, and we saw that throughout the draft process. As far as, understanding the offense and the language and just his overall football IQ, I think that continues to improve. And I was actually pleasantly surprised, even when he got here. It was never a question, was he smart? But I was pleasantly surprised just, his work ethic out of this world and, studying the playbook and trying to get those reps. And he continues to get better each and every day. Physically, look, this guy definitely gives us a chance to, kind of get some of those off-schedule plays that you guys always see on TV.
You said solving my decision. Does that mean that you kind of went down and said, we're making the change, deal with it? Or how would the process work?
No, that's a great question. What I would say is, so I met with all the offensive coaches, and we had a conversation. Then we met together, AVP and myself, and he was fully on board. And once again, it goes back to who gives us the best chance to win this week.
Was that prior to the decision being made, or you say, Alex, we're close here, or had you had conversations leading up to the ultimate decision being made? We're close here, we might have to make this move.
Well, during training camp, at the end of training camp, we had those discussions on almost a daily basis. What do we want to do to open the season? And I would also say as the season continued to progress, we won the first game, and then the second game was a tight one. Then obviously you guys know what happened along the way. It wasn't a conversation where I was like, Alex, we're close. For him as an offensive coordinator, for all the coordinators, they have to prepare to go out here and win the game. And so having those conversations during the regular season on a let's say a weekly basis is really unrealistic. Now, with that being said, we had the conversation. He agreed with the move. And, it's hard. It's a hard move. One thing I have learned about quarterbacks is a little different than any other position. So what I would say is, we had the conversation and both agreed that this was the right way.
Why did you decide this decision was?
I got one. John.
I told the team this morning, look, these guys are on social media and all that stuff as well. And like I said, we had a conversation with Jacoby and Drake the night prior. But I told the team this morning, in the same way that the full weight of the organization was behind Jacoby at the time, I expect the same thing, the full weight of the organization to be behind Drake no matter what.
Did you have this date in mind for Drake Maye's debut as a starter, Jerod, or was the plan that you've talked to us so much about, was that at all expedited?
Look, I don't think it's a secret. Our offense hasn't been performing the way that we all hoped it would. And so, to answer your question,
It's a yes. No.
Ask the question again. I want to make sure I say this right.
Was the plan expedited, or
no? I wouldn't say. No, I wouldn't say the plan was expedited.
Yeah, it was, though.
Again,
Clearly was.
The end of training camp, he was trending up, and that never slowed down. So at this point, he gives us the best chance to win.
Jerod, a lot of people are saying that maybe the team around him isn't ideal for Drake with the offensive line and the state of the offense right now. What do you say?
I mean, look, every team, even this early in the season, is still trying to figure out like who they have and what they are as an organization, their identity. But I would say, look, we're good with Drake. Every team doesn't have let's say a one receiver or one running back. They don't have those kind of things. But I would say that Drake is going to make us a better football team today and going forward.
Just following up on Phil's question for a moment, as far as why you decided now, you had the Dolphins last week, you have next week the Jaguars, and the Texans are one of the toughest teams in the league. Was there any consideration given to the opponent?
I would say there's never a perfect time to make a change. Every defense that we play, whether it's the defensive ends or the defensive tackles, they all have the ability to rush and get after the quarterback. So I don't think there's ever a perfect time. What I will say is this defense is there's some, we're familiar with the defense. And we've seen it, and he's prepared for this defense as if he was the starter. And I just felt like this was the right time to do it.
Organizationally, was everyone on board, meaning Elliott and so on and so on?
Elliott and ownership, all of us were on board with the change.
Jerod, I wanted to ask, does this change at all Jacoby Brissett's status as a captain?
Not at all. And I expressed that to Jacoby in our one-on-one that, his leadership was not just what he did on the field, but also off the field. And my expectation, and he agreed, was that he would continue to be a leader on our football team.
Andrew did a story talking to Elliott before the season. Elliott said to him, we don't want to be in a situation where we're putting Drake Maye in, things don't go well, we don't like it, we're back out. With that said, is this a for good type situation? Like he's in there for good, and who's the backup?
Look, right now, Drake Maye is our starter today and going forward. And Jacoby's our backup quarterback.
Do you expect Drake to get like 100% of the snaps? How do you expect that to work?
He'll get most of the snaps.
Okay, let's leave it there.
It's like a feeding frenzy down there.
Gerard!
They've never been so aggressive with the questions down there.
Let me tell you, he better get is he not going to get 100% of the snaps?
Why on earth would he not? No, I think he will. He
set packages.
He said most. I think he was just like most.
I
think he's going to.
He's going to wait for.
But so he
Van
said it
Pelt
was
to
all
Wolf
his
to tell him.
decision.
That's what he claims.
That's what he says. That's what he says. But everybody's on board. I'll tell you who's not on board.
Who's that?
AVP. There's no way Van Pelt wanted that. Van Pelt, unless the Miami game swayed him so much, and I guess you got to leave the possibility for that out there.
Yeah,
he was so pro Brissett even after the Niners game that there's no way he wanted this. He has to do it. It's his job, and Mayo and Wolf and Kraft are all his bosses, so he has to do it. But there's no way they're all on board.
Okay, so let me go back through some of the things that he said. He started with Jabril Peppers. Let's put that to the side for a moment because I think when he was on the radio the other day with Greg and when he did his subsequent hit with the media afterwards, meaning like the full press conference and Zoom call, I think they let him know he looked much too pro Jabril Peppers and not strong enough about domestic violence. I think that was clear. Yeah. But let's put a pin in that for a moment. He started, Jacoby's a warrior, blah, 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 tip of the hat, egoless, da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Right.
He did say that it's been trending in this direction for a while.
Since camp.
Which
he did highlight during that time.
I think that was his little way of saying, this is what I wanted the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I wanted to do.
Yep.
He also said that he met one-on-one with both quarterbacks. Okay? So not Brissett and Maye together, I believe, and we'll have to fact-check me on this, but I believe he said when they made the initial announcement to go with Brissett before Cincinnati, he met with both quarterbacks at the same time, I think.
Or was it individual?
He said he met with both of them at the same time. And
then individually? Okay, right. So maybe that's what it was?
Yeah,
he said he met with both of them one-on-one.
Yep.
Obviously, the team didn't know. Like, obviously, the team is finding out today. He's like, they all got social media.
No, so, like, when we talked to, we had 3 Patriots on Monday. Like, none of those guys knew then.
Definitely not.
That decision had not been made. When Brissett was on with Hart and Arcan, he didn't know, and he said he was going to start.
He said he expects to start.
Everybody wasn't lying. Like, I think he did, at that point, expect to start.
Yeah. He said that Drake Maye physically gives us a chance for some of those off-platform plays.
Agreed.
Definitely agree with that.
I like that.
He said he met with all the coaches. He claims AVP is fully on board. That's a direct quote. Fully on board. You smell a rat there?
I smell a rat. I don't believe that. Just based on our limited experience and talking
That's an odd question.
And literally,
hey, AVP, what do you think we do at quarterback this week there, Alex? What do you think we do?
That's an odd question.
No, it's not. Here's what we're doing.
Very important question.
We're
He
going.
understands that he's got the hopes and dreams of the organization in his hands. He's carrying.
Hopes and dreams.
For now. He doesn't anymore.
No, but for those that missed it, the question prior or that led to the it's an odd question is the bigger issue the offensive line not giving Brissett time or Brissett holding on to the ball too long?
Yeah. Turns out the answer was Brissett holding the ball too long, turns out.
Yeah, right.
100%.
Yeah, it's not an odd question. That was a terrific question.
It's probably what cost him his job,
yeah.
ultimately.
Okay.
I think I don't think they expected to be 5-0. I don't think they expected to have the best offense in football. But it just gotten to a point over the last 2 weeks that the quarterback was hurting them. There were other games beginning of the year. Who was the worst player on the field? Maybe the left tackle, maybe the right guard, maybe a receiver.
No,
Ramondre was fumbling. Like, you had all these different. The last 2 weeks, you're like, no, the quarterback's killing you.
Yeah, and especially on Sunday, you could boil it down to just his play. He had time. A lot of the beat. We read you Phil Perry on Monday. He highlighted all the time that he had.
We had first caller of the day. So he has
our guy
basically the exact same
time as Jaden Daniels. Yeah. No, Phil had stats. He's basically has the same time as Patrick Mahomes.
There you go. He's
in
doing
that game on Sunday. Yeah. So, he's what are you crying about? Yeah. It was about Brissett. And I think Mayo always agreed. He said he hasn't talked to Van Pelt in season. They met, and they plan, and he's totally fully on board, but they haven't talked about this all season. They talked about it in the offseason.
Yeah.
They went back and forth in the offseason. They haven't talked about this decision
That's strange.
in season. I find that strange, too. I don't quite know what to make of it. But that's odd. I agree. That's the right way to frame that.
Well, especially because I feel like Alex Van Pelt changed who he was over the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I would assume Mayo kind of told him that, unless he was just reading what Mayo and listening to what Mayo was saying to the media. But Mayo knew that week one wasn't sustainable, like the way that they won that game. And then he also kept talking about how they need to get the ball downfield more. Like, he was talking about they need to pass more. And then against the Jets and the Dolphins specifically, they could have ran a lot more, and they didn't. Wasn't it the Jets game that Ramondre had like 9 carries or something insane? And then this past week, Ramondre and Gibson were running all over the place. Then they stopped doing it.
I think it was basically 2-1. It was 36 dropbacks, I believe, and 18 rushes.
So do you view that as Van Pelt giving in to Mayo, or Van Pelt doing what he thinks Mayo wants? Or, like, why would he change so much when what could have won you the game is sort of more his bread and butter?
I liked your theory earlier in the week that he was trying to highlight Brissett.
Yeah, trying to be like, Brissett's pretty good. We're going to keep Brissett.
And it blew up in his face, and it got his guy benched because Brissett is his guy. That's Van Pelt's guy.
In an effort to save him, he killed him.
It's correct.
Yep.
He also said it's the perfect time to get him in there. They're familiar with the defense, which, like, does that mean because they played the Niners already they're familiar with the defense? D'Amico Ryans is from that.
Yeah.
Like, is that what that means? I was trying to make sense of what that meant.
Well, and they did so well against the Niners.
Get
him in there.
I'll be honest, I didn't quite understand what that meant, but that's what he said. And then he also said this.
But he did say something like, "There's no perfect time to get in there." Well, kind of at least understanding the fact.
I'm sorry.
This is tough.
No, I misrepresented that.
Yeah.
You're right. He said there is no perfect time. I'm sorry, not the perfect time. They're familiar with the opponent. There is no perfect time to get in a quarterback, which I do kind of agree with. Which would have been a reason to start in week 1 against Cincinnati, but whatever.
Right.
He also said that I think it was clear listening to him. It was not the plan, but he said, no, this hasn't expedited anything. Ask the question again.
Yeah, he needed Phil to ask him again.
So that was the highlight. That was great. Well, the highlight was his groan when he sat down. Because my goodness,
but
did I feel that?
Oh my God.
Every second of that when he sat down, that groan, I felt that as a 40-year-old man.
I did that the other day. I came in and Billy and Nick were in the back office, and I sat down. They both looked at me and were like, "Is everything all right?" I was like, "I just sound like this."
Yeah,
I think I'm fine.
I'm 40 now, and this is why I didn't even mean to do that. My body just makes noises I inadvertently didn't even mean to do all day long. But so the groan was the highlight, but him needing clarification on the question to make sure he didn't step in it.
Yeah.
After he had kind of already stepped in it, that was probably the highlight.
That was entertaining. So I don't know if we'll ever get an answer to this, but do you think that when they decided Jacoby was the starter week 1, was there actually a week in mind that Drake Maye would play? Or do you think it was more Drake Maye needs to kick ass in practice and then we'll see how Jacoby's doing on game day? Like, I wonder if they circled the game.
I think they had a week in mind, and I don't think it was this one. I bet it was further down the line, and they hoped their plan was going to last longer, and they were wrong. And they were foolish to even think Jacoby Brissett could last as long as he did.
Yeah, agreed. We've all been there.
Hang on. Can I just let me give you an audio representation of the Patriots' first 5 weeks of the year. Okay. How do I feel watching Jacoby Brissett every single week?
What does it sound like when I stand up after 2 IPAs in my basement?
See, that was the thing, too. It was a noise coming from sitting down.
Right.
It's usually a noise coming from standing up.
Yeah, no, that's true.
That was him sitting down.
Hey,
that's a professional athlete.
He dropped his keys.
Yeah, right. He's like, oh, no.
Hey, Kathleen, what do you think about going down the hall? Okay, fine. All right.
It's like, no, thanks.
All right, fine. What is it? What is it? Your birthday?
Dad, can you sit on the floor and play with me? You're like, never mind.
Okay.
Never mind.
You scare me now,
If that's
Dad.
what it sounds like when you sit down. Forget it. You're obviously in a lot of trouble right now.
617-779-7937. Tim's in Nashville waiting patiently. Go ahead, Tim.
Tim.
Guys, when he says we're behind Jacoby 100%, then he said it about May. Do you think there's some type? Is there 100% support? Because I think there's like some conflict between Mayo and AVP and Wolf. I think there's some separation. Can you guys hear that, or am I just imagining?
No, it's clear.
Nope,
it's
we
clear
agree with you, Tim. We agree.
So, I don't think it was Mayo's. I think if this were Mayo's call, it would happen week 1. And I think that's clear listening to him. He's like, yeah, no, it was trending in the right direction in training camp, which was his way of saying he wanted to do it week 1. And so I think if Mayo really made the call, this would have happened week 1. It's not his call. It's ownership's call. There's an international game looming. There's empty seats and booze at Gillette Stadium. And so ownership said, we're doing it. I mean, that's what I think.
Yeah, I agree completely. And it's also the way the whole process played out. Elliot Wolf didn't hire Jerod Mayo, and Jerod Mayo didn't hire Alex Van Pelt. I don't think there are a ton of situations around the league that are like that.
Nope.
There might be some, but basically, like Bill Belichick was 2 of those roles for 20 years, let alone now you have 2 different personalities, 2 different opinions. And then it's very clear. We went over this as the weeks were playing out, and we're watching Jacoby Brissett, and you're watching Justin Fields win games. You're watching Joe Flacco win games. Do you think Jerod Mayo really wanted Jacoby Brissett? Probably not. Even right off the rip. Even if, that's what he was like, hey, dude, we're thinking about signing Jacoby Brissett, Jerod. What do you think? Honestly, I don't even think he wanted him originally.
No.
And so he gets stuck with him. And then now you have a debate, which just from talking to other Patriots fans and listeners, not everybody was on the same page when it came to developing a rookie quarterback. So therefore, you can imagine you get all those voices in a room, they're all going to feel differently about it. But then you watch it play out right in front of your eyes for 5 straight weeks, and you're like, holy smokes, we can't throw the ball.
So, look, if we missed anything else from Jerod Mayo, we didn't take the full thing. We took like 10 minutes of it. If we missed anything, we'll circle back. We'll play it for you later in the show. Who do you think made the call? Do you think it's the right decision for the Patriots? I know a lot of you don't, or at least you didn't last week. You can jump in on that at 617-779-7937. We'll also take your thoughts on Jabril Peppers on the commissioner's exempt list. My read, Keefe, I said this off the top. I'm curious your thoughts on it. I think he didn't meet the mark on Monday, and he knows that, so he overcompensated at the beginning of this. His line about his 3 daughters, he clearly wanted to get in there. He forgot.
That's always a weird one. As somebody who has 2 daughters,
Yeah.
I feel like people without daughters should understand that domestic violence is a horrible thing.
Like I have a son. I feel like I get
you don't
it.
get it, Jones. You don't actually understand what it would be.
Well, and you don't get it. You only have 2 daughters, so you don't get it as much as he does. He's got 3. He's got you Trump there.
Oh, man, he must really mean it.
Right. Me and Billy have sons, and we're like, I don't even understand the weight of this.
No clue.
How could I possibly wrap my head around it? And so I think somebody told him clearly, hey, you can't sound so pro Jabril Peppers. Do you know what he's accused of? Do you know what he's accused of? We get the due process thing, but could you sound a little less?
It's not true.
That's exactly what he said.
Is what he said.
Hopefully it's not true.
I wonder what their relationship is like. As a quick aside, if Jabril Peppers called Mayo, and I'm sure we all have friends in our lives. If they were accused of something, and if they told you point blank, this is not true.
Right.
I have a handful of friends. I'd be like, okay, then it's not true. And then it plays out. And then if it wasn't, you're like, oh, my God, not only are you a monster, but you lied to me, too. That would be so I don't know what the Mayo-Peppers thing is, because we know that he talked to him right away. And I wonder if Peppers was like, hey, let me just get out in front of this and try to cover myself. Or could he be like, Coach, this didn't happen. And then Mayo's like, all right, we got to let this play out. But, I trust you. We don't know.
Yeah, so I just think somebody talked to him, or maybe he realized it himself. Maybe it was his wife. Maybe it was one of his daughters. So, hey, you didn't meet the mark on Monday, and so he overcompensated there at the beginning, but ultimately that is the right message. It took him a while to get there. And the team, by the way, got bailed out on this. The team didn't make this decision. The league is making this decision for him.